right across from the Firestone Tires and right by Destiny USA, the highway, the thruway, and Onondaga Lake Parkway. This is the on-site exclusive conversation that I'm calling Dan Squared because I can. And I think that, Dan's mom and my mom were very smart in the name that they chose. So I love the name Dan. I mean, did you ever think about that? Dan, did you ever think about, some people always ask you if it could be named anything else, what would it be? Would you ever change your name?
I don't know what I would change it to. I was asked, it was funny, I think it was like second or third grade. There was like this little worksheet and it asked why you were named what you were named or how did it come. And
yeah.
Everybody was like, oh, it's a namesake for my grandfather or this and that. And so I was just like, oh, that's what you're supposed to write down. I was like, oh, my Uncle Dan. And then I brought it home and my mom's like, you don't have an Uncle Dan. I'm like, yeah, everybody else was saying it and I didn't really know why they named me that, but they just came up with it. They said that they liked the name, it fit me, and that was that. So I don't know. My middle name's Anthony. So if I guess if I would be named anything else, it'd probably be that.
It was funny because my name, I know how I got my name, is that my dad was Ralph III, and my grandmother said, are you going to name your son Ralph? And my mom went, hell no. So my grandfather and my dad are both Ralph Daniel.
Okay.
So I got Daniel from that, and I'm pretty confident I'm the only Daniel on both sides of the family.
Yeah, I mean, my grandfather was Donald Anthony.
Yeah.
And my dad, and he was the firstborn of his family. And then my dad was David Allen, and he was the firstborn in his family. And then I'm Daniel Anthony. So we all have the same initials, DAF, and we're all, one of the tops and firstborn list and all that. So
yeah, and it's cool, but it's like you said. They said that Daniel fit you.
Mm-hmm.
When I got named Daniel because my grandfather and my dad, I said, how am I Daniel Michael? Both of my parents are like, they literally shrugged their shoulders and they're like, it sounded good, and I'm like, that's it. They're like, yeah, just I don't know, it sounded like it made sense.
Yeah.
So
good deal.
That's how we ended up. But we have, with that being said, we have Dan Squared here on site on location for this exclusive conversation coming on the heels of Dan Frisina moving forward from the program that he built at Bryant Stratton with the men's basketball team for the Bobcats here in Syracuse. And of course, we're on site on location at PB&J's Lunchbox here in Liverpool, New York. So, Danny, this opportunity to, first and foremost, I want to thank you because I remember when you and I met at Longhorn years ago when you were creating this program, and that you had some time to kind of bring it together and whatnot. I remember sitting with you there. I also, obviously have seen the success that you've had and what you've done. To get to work with you, albeit, a short time in the exclusive multimedia marketing partnership, we've been able to do some cool things. In these last couple of years, it's been normal to have you on the show to talk about Bryant Stratton and, of course, Clay Gagan Sherman as well on the women's side. And what I've seen over the years is the fact that you starting this program and me not knowing what it was going to be. I didn't know what Bryant Stratton was going to look like. I didn't know about the logo. I didn't know about the team, about the makeup, about the feel of it. Obviously, playing in the USCAA and whatnot for small colleges. I didn't know what to think. So I can honestly tell you that my experience of the USCAA, my experience of Bryant Stratton has run through you before anything else. So, you've been my litmus test, and I'm happy that you were the person that helped me to educate myself and learn, because I think, what you've done here in the community is going to live forever, because as I've told you repeatedly, there's only one coach that ever gets to create a program, and that will always be you no matter what happens.
Well, I appreciate that. It was a very unique situation, and one that, like you said, it's not very many people, if any, get to fall into. There's a lot of first-time head coaches every single year, with the coaching turnover that there is. But being a first-time head coach at a program that previously never even had men's basketball is a completely different animal. And you said you didn't know kind of what to expect. Neither did I. I've coached basketball in the past, but this was a completely different animal. So to be able to have the opportunity to kind of make this my own, my baby, and build it the way I wanted it to be built, and then have the success that we've had the last couple of years has been really rewarding.
What brought you to Bryant Stratton? What made you want to create a program?
So, I worked at OCC as an assistant coach under Dave Paziak in 2015-2016 season. That following year, I had stepped away for, Dave was let go, and none of the assistants were retained. So, I took a year off from coaching, was doing my own thing. It wasn't until I was, the summer of 2017, I was out at my buddy's wedding in Boulder, Colorado, and my friend Hannah, who worked at Bryant Stratton, said, "Hey, we're looking to start a men's basketball program," and she had obviously known that I'd coached in the past. She goes, "Would you be interested in applying?" And I said, "Absolutely." So, long story short, I applied, and there was, 15, 20 other people that applied. I met with Nick a couple different times, and it just felt right. Felt like a good situation. Like you said, you never know what you're getting yourself into when you're starting a program, but I had all the confidence in Nick and the support staff there that we could make something that would be successful.
Nick said, and we just did our Bobcat Buzz special to get to know the athletic director, national champion in men's soccer, head coach even more, and Nick and I got to have a really nice fireside chat, and he said he knew immediately when he hired you. Did you feel that?
You never know when you go in an interview. Every interview that I've ever had for any job, big or small, I always go in there confident because I know what I bring to the table, and especially when it comes to basketball, being able to play for Dave Paziak 18 years ago, and then go down to Coastal Carolina and have some experience down there, and then come up and work under Tracy up at SUNY Oswego, and then come back and be able to coach with the coach that gave me the opportunity to play. I had all the knowledge base in the world to be able to be confident going into the interview. So if he says that he knew right away, it's because I went in there confident. And whether I had gotten the job or not, I could leave knowing that I put my best foot forward. So, I try to stay humble and not walk out of there and be like, "Oh, I got that, no problem."
Yeah.
But I did feel confident after leaving there that I put everything that I knew out there, and both knowledge base and my personality and who I was, to hopefully give them the confidence that they could hire me and lead a program.
When you go out there, like you said, and you have that confidence, where does that confidence come from that you have it?
It's just having the knowledge. It's just, when you put time into something and you put time and work forward, and you've had great mentors, there's no reason not to be confident. It's not a cockiness. It's just knowing that you know something, you're a professional at it, and just working with some of the other coaches that I've had. I told Coach Paziak this, multiple times. When I was coaching and I became a head coach, there was often times where I would be in a situation with big or small, and I'm, relating to one of my students or whatever, and I'm saying, what would Dave do? Or what would Coach Paziak do? What would he do in this situation? And I went for multiple coaches, and you just kind of revisit some of those situations that might be similar, and having that gives me the confidence that I've had these experiences before, and I know how to get through this, and so it made tough situations a lot easier, being able to fall back on those experiences.
You look back on your playing days.
It's a long time ago.
It doesn't feel like it was, though. I don't want you to make us sound old. How old are you? How old are you?
36.
No, so we're the same age.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I figured that. I figured we were very close. I don't feel old. I really don't. What makes me feel old is when my graphic designer I went to college with, John Grenquist, and shout out to John, he did everything, including the new Wake Up Call logo with the sun coming out of the coffee pot and everything. So I was thinking about when John and I became friends, it was 19 years ago.
Yeah.
So I would love for you to bring me into your play. I want to know why you fell in love with basketball in the first place. Like, when's the first time you remember holding a basketball, just getting around that world?
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of been ingrained in the entire family. My grandfather was a basketball coach he's a football coach, and he was a driver's ed teacher, and he's a physical education teacher, and
Can we shout him out?
yeah, Dan Frisina. He's the one that, I have on my desk. I have a picture of him, and it's a really cool, candid picture of us in the driveway, and he's got his hand on my shoulder, and he's pointing, and I got a basketball in my hand. It's very cool, and it's a very, I don't know what we were talking about, what was going on, but it was just like quintessential. And by the way, we didn't call him grandpa or pops or any of those other traditional grandfather names. We called him coach.
Yeah.
Like when he signed birthday cards, it was coach and grandma. It was so that was pretty unique, and so we just referred to him as coach. And that's where we as a family got a love of basketball. My dad was a huge basketball. We'd go to the playground and play, and but yeah, it's other than obviously my family. I don't remember the first time I picked up a basketball or the first time I made a 3-point shot or any of that. I just remember consistently doing it over time, and just that was I played Little League baseball. I played Little League lacrosse for a season.
Yeah.
I was introduced to a lot of sports. I played soccer in middle school, but basketball was a constant, and that was the one that always stuck around. So that was, I guess I fell in love with it early on, and I can't tell you the date or age or anything like that, but it's just one of the sport that stuck around.
I think the thing that's cool is that you had that picture. You have that picture with your grandfather, with Coach, and like you said, that he's got his hand on your shoulder, and you got a basketball. He's pointing. It sounds like the picture that either would be featured in a 30 for 30, or a picture that would come with a picture frame.
Yeah, absolutely. If we were posing for it, it couldn't have come out better.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just one of those, and I believe I can't remember now because it's so long ago. I was probably 16 when the picture was taken.
Yeah.
15 or 16, and then I think I got that picture framed as like a graduation gift, which was very special because he had passed away a couple years prior to my graduation. So, I still have it. Like I said, it was on my desk as a coach, and I have it home with me now, and it's a very special picture for me.
And to go from there to just, and it's funny that you say that because that was my constant. My dad wanted me to play baseball because my dad loves baseball. Yeah. So I played, you play t-ball and you play Little League. I got hit by a wild pitch right above my kidney. And the doctor said if it was like an inch or a half an inch or something lower, that he's like, well, you would have been peeing blood. And I looked at my dad and I go, I think I'm done with baseball.
Yeah.
Like, I think I'm all right now.
I think I've got the taste.
Because this kid, who, mind you, was wearing glasses, he beamed like 7 of our players in this Little League game. We were playing at Lincourt. I mean, we were just right here in the community. And so that was a horrible. And I remember my coach telling me to walk it off, and I had a giant ice bag on my back, and I was like, I just want to know if I can get a Jolly Rancher or a Charleston Chew and call it a day. But I
never forget getting beamed in Little League. No, I got beamed by it was my best friend, and he beamed me. And
are you still best friends?
I was the best man in his wedding.
Okay, good.
So, but we were on opposite teams.
Yeah.
But he beamed me, and he was the hardest throwing player in the league, and we were 10, 11, 12. Yeah. To the point where the stitches left a print on my knee, and I go down, and I'm obviously like throbbing in pain, crying and all that, and I can just hear him say, "Sorry, Danny." It's like the opposing pitcher is saying sorry, and then 30 years later I'm the best man at his wedding. So I didn't bring that up in the speech, although I probably should have now thinking about it.
Well, you know what? You should have just said at the end of the speech that you should have told him he's always left his mark on you.
Oh, I should have just walked out with a limp and been like, I've never been the same. And, made him really feel bad about it.
Yeah. When you're done with your speech, you get in the wheelchair and somebody pushes you out.
I will say, though, he does blame me for his ailment. When we were in high school, we used to play pickup basketball, and I was playing defense on him. And he still to this day will blame me for him tearing his ACL.
Okay.
He said that, I was playing a little physical defense, where the way I recall is it was a non-contact torn ACL. So, we both have knee problems, and I think we can blame each other for that. So.
We can call it a non-contact. That's fine.
Yeah.
But it's funny though, like how how we remember that stuff. You know, it's like you said, I don't remember the first time I picked up a basketball, but it's weird. Like when anybody that's played a sport at any level, if you ask them like injuries,
Sure.
we can give you a whole timeline.
Oh, because every time I wake up now, I can, you know.
You can
said
feel it.
You don't feel old. And you said you feel old when? And I go, well, I feel old every morning when I wake up and my back's hurting or my knee cracks for no particular reason, and I'm just like, all right, well, this is the aging process, I guess.
You know, but the thing I love about the come up, and like you said, is like you get exposed to different sports, but basketball was always there, and like I can respect that because in my life since I was 7, basketball was always a part of my life. It was always in the fabric, and even to this day, it's funny because my cousin gets married a few years ago, and I said, you know, it's always funny to like chronicle the story, and asking people, what did you do? Like, what did you do the morning of her wedding? Like, where were you? What were you doing? And some people are like, yeah, I was doing my hair. You know, oh, I went and got a shave. Oh, I was watching a show. I was listening to music. They had, at the hotel we stayed at, an outdoor basketball court.
Nice.
So at 10 a.m. in the morning, the day of her wedding, I wanted no one to speak to me, and I just wanted to shoot. That's all I wanted to do. And I think that no matter what level you play at or how long you play or whatever it is, if you love basketball, I think you can attest to this, that, you know, when you're on a court, you're the kid that was 7, you're the kid that was in high school, you're the kid in college. You can see all the versions of yourself, and you probably will go back to habits of like things you did. Like, I got to hit a half-court shot before I leave. I got to hit my corner 3 was my favorite 3. So I can't leave the court unless I make a corner 3.
Oh, it was funny. So my dad and my stepmom moved down to Florida in September, and I would say maybe a couple days or a week before they left, my dad, my brothers, my dad has the lines painted in the driveway, and of course, you know, someone starts shooting, and then 2 people start shooting, and then 3 people start shooting. Now it's become like a, you know, 2-on-2 game, and then it became, all right, well, let me see how many free throws I can make in a row. Let me see how many threes I can make in a row. Let's see how many threes I can make without jumping in a row. Then we take it a step back. Now we're shooting like behind cars. Oh, it turns into a game of horse, and like see who could, you know, Steph Curry, the longest shot, and it just becomes, you know, we have a pretty competitive family, so it's like we're always trying to one up each other, and when it comes to, you know, especially basketball.
And the thing is typically how many of those, I'll just pick up a ball and play for a couple minutes, turn into 7 hours, and it's dark outside.
Oh, yeah.
You can't even see the ball you're dribbling, but you won't go inside.
Right. Well, there was, and, you know, just to go back to like our high school days, like there was one particular park in Eastwood where me and my friends used to, every summer, and almost every day, every summer, we'd go up there, to the point that we go up there 10:30, 11 in the morning, and we would not leave the court until 7, 8 o'clock. And we actually, this is the early days of the cell phones where you didn't have like GPS and all this and that. We just had to memorize phone numbers. We would call a pizza place and have the pizza place deliver to the park. Instead of, like, they're like, what's the address? I'm like, well, we're at the corner of this and this. Can you just come? We're just a bunch of kids. We got some money for you. And we use the neighbor's hose nozzle to, you know, hydrate. And but we were up there for 7-8 hours, you know, and, you know, can't do that anymore. We get a nice 45-minute burn in, and we're good to go. So,
but you know, it is a beautiful thing. It's that it never leaves you, and it's like the art of the dance. You know, you never forget what it feels like. And I know for me, because where I live, there's a park not too far away, and I always just want to go. And and no disrespect to anybody else, I don't want anybody to be there because I just, even if it's like a half an hour, I just want the court to myself.
Sure. Oh no, I completely sympathize with that. You know, and sometimes you have your hoop by yourself, and then guys are like, hey, do you want to play? And you're just like, no, not really. I'm good right here.
I just want to shoot. I just want to be left alone, and I just want to shoot. I mean, I remember shooting 100 free throws in sleep in my driveway. And my mom being like, it's dinner time, and asking me to come in, and until I shot 100 free throws, I didn't come inside.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we'd frequent that park in Eastwood during the summertime, but there was times where, like right around now, where there's still snow on the ground, but the sun's out, and you're just excited that snow started to melt. We'd go up there with a shovel and just try to push snow off to the side because we knew that, the sun and the 40-degree weather would kind of dry off the court. But yeah, we'd go up there with our shoes on, our sneakers on, beat them up, and slip and slide all over the court just because we wanted to and we could.
Yeah, and it does. I mean, one of my favorite trick shots that I typically use in horse or pig is I go behind the basket, angled, and I shoot it straight up and try to have it go over the backboard and drop straight down. That's one of the shots that, like, growing up, I felt most comfortable as, like, my trick shot.
So, yes, I do that still today. If you were able to watch our practice footage before the kids even get into the gym, you'll see me behind the backboard shooting it up over the backboard down to the rim, and then when they get there, I'll do it, and I'll be like, it's my first try. Like, this is my first time doing it, and I'll do it, and I'll make it, and I'll just they're like, get out of here, coach, and I'm like, listen, man, when you have it, so.
I have two witnesses here within the last few years that I took a half-court shot in two different gyms in two different parts of town on the first shot, and they were standing there to watch it drop in. And so I have one of my film moments of, it's funny because you do the first one and it drops in, and then to get it, I'm like, man, I should have got it on film. To get it on film, you got to take a couple more, and it doesn't drop right away. But
yeah,
that's a shot that I love, the challenge. I had somebody bet me that in high school. I had one of my friend's moms. She goes, there was kids all over the gym. It was so many kids in the gym that when you shoot a shot, you're afraid the basketball is going to bounce and hit somebody in the head. So there's way too many people.
Yeah.
And so she goes, if you can make a half-court shot right now, I'll give you $50. And she was like, you know what? I'll give you 5 chances. I made it on the first try.
Mm-hmm.
Noreen, she never paid me. She never gave me my $50.
I've been called out.
Noreen, I'm sorry. I'll say the whole name if I need to. But
there's Venmo now. It's a lot easier to pay up. So.
But it's but that's one of the things that I love. But I grew up playing in the public safety building because my godfather's a cop. So he would literally bring us downtown, up above the jail, and there were times where he had to ride the elevator that has the pull across fence, lock fence.
Yeah.
So you go through the underground tunnel. They lock you in there because that's where they take the prisoners underneath the road. They take you out. They bring you upstairs. And all these guys are walking out of the gym with yoga mats on. And here's my godfather, my buddy, his son, and me. The three of us standing there waiting. And all these guys walk by us. And I'm like, who are they? And my godfather, nothing, goes, oh, they're prisoners.
Yeah.
It's they come up here to do yoga. Yeah. And I was like, okay. And then he would leave James and I.
To pass the time,
Yeah, but he would unlock it, bring us up to the public safety building with the cord on the roof. Or on the final level.
Yep.
And we would be up there, and there's bars on the windows.
Yep.
And he would leave us be for 2 hours.
That's cool, man.
And I still to this day.
Unique spot.
Yeah, I know.
Not many can brag about that. that are out here talking about it at least.
Yeah. When I didn't go to jail, I got to play at the public safety building.
There you go.
But so you grow up, you come up, you start playing. Bring me into the high school, college days.
I never played in high school. No, I went to Henniger High School.
You played for fun, but you never played organized.
Played for fun. So
did you do any CYO or pickup or anything?
I played pickup obviously with my buddies, and I played pickup football. So I played football my freshman year, and that was purely, my friends are doing it. I want to do it. I've never played organized football before, but we just played sandlot football, and I had buddies that were playing. So I'm like, well, and they've been playing for a couple of years. So I'm like, well, they're not playing pickup football anymore, and I still want to play. So I joined the team freshman year, and freshmen, once they left, I left because I was an impressionable 9th grader, and if they weren't doing it, I was going to do it. And I probably should have stuck with it because I felt like I was pretty good at it. And
what'd you play?
Played well. So in modified, they didn't really have receivers. It's like a running game. So I played tight end, and then they had me at safety or something like that, or defensive end. Yeah. And I was, tiny. Back then I was 5'9" and 130 pounds, playing defensive line. So I just
you were the Marek Dolezaj-ish.
Yeah. So I left football, but continued to play basketball. Just in the park, tried out, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year, and made it to the final cut pretty much, most of the time. But back then, I mean, Henniger was, they still to a certain extent are pretty good, but they were a powerhouse back then. They had Joe Mazzello was the head coach, and they won the state championship in 2002. Had a future NBA player on their team, and Andre Blatch, who was in my grade. Chris Turner, Jerice Crouch, Chase Frazier. They had a loaded roster, super fun to watch. They ended up winning states, so I wasn't going to make that team. And, a couple other teams after that, that I tried out with it. There was a couple guys younger than me. Doug Fulmer ended up playing Division I football. There's just a ton of athletes there, very competitive program. I was disappointed, obviously, in not making the team, but I understood kind of, how everything was going to go. But it wasn't until my senior year that I ended up, I got cut, and then again, I had friends that were like, hey, we're playing CYO ball. You want to play? I'm like, sure, why not? So I played CYO ball my senior year of high school at St. Matt's in East Syracuse.
Did we play you? Because I was at St. Joe's in Camillus.
I don't recall. So funny though, you say that.
Because I knew St. Matt's, but I don't know if you were ever on our roster.
No, I don't think we ever played St. Joe's because I don't remember.
Or on our schedule.
I don't remember ever going to your guys' gym, but I have family in Camillus, and it wasn't until I was in college where my dad would play pickup ball at St. Joe's with a couple of my uncles and their buddies, and they were short some guys some weeks, so they had asked me to play, and I feel bad about it now because I was 20 years old, playing at OCC at the time, so I was in really good shape, and obviously they're middle-aged guys that were just looking to run up and down and get a good workout in, and I'm Speedy Gonzalez around them. Kind of now I'd be able to play right with them. I'd be like walking the ball up and
they call you now. Hey Dan, time to pay up.
Yeah. Well, back then they were like, I don't want to guard you. And I'm like, well. So, but yeah, I did play at St. Joe's, but not for CYO. And then so my senior year, finished that out, and then I went to OCC.
Yeah, because I remember at St. Joe's we were the number 1 seed last year. We set records in JV, set like the best record they had ever had. And then I was varsity as a junior and a senior. And senior year, we were the number 1 seed. And we had a coach I wasn't fond of, but not many of us were. And we were the number 1 seed. And I remember at halftime, we hadn't scored a lot of points. And he comes in and he's mad and he's like slams his hand down and he's there on, in the middle of the room, and he was like, don't you guys he's like, this is my team. I built this team. Like, I'm responsible. You better go out there. Don't make me look bad. And I remember we looked around the room and we're like, I never saw him run in practice. Yeah. And when he said it was his and he built it and he made us, we went into that second half and we collectively kind of were just like, we don't want to win for him, which was really sad because we probably could have won the championship that year.
Yeah, it's tough to play for a coach like that. And like I said, when I go back to all the coaches that I played for, and whether it was modified football or middle school soccer or community college basketball, I can't recall I was so fortunate to have amazing coaches at every level, every sport I had. Yeah. The soccer coach I had in middle school was also the basketball coach, and he had coached my aunt at Henniger when she played varsity there. So we he knew the family, and he's a great guy. Dennis Barnett, awesome guy. But yeah, I've just had amazing coaches throughout who've kind of been able to help me become and inspire me to become the coach that I am.
Here with Dan Squared, the on-site exclusive special on the heels of Dan Frisina making the decision to move forward here from his coaching time with Bryant Stratton and building the program at Bryant Stratton College in Syracuse for the Bobcats. So you go on to OCC.
Yep, so I go to OCC, and there's actually, I had no intention of playing basketball there. I just wanted to go there, get my 2 years in, and get out. It was that type of deal. They didn't have dorms up there at the time, so I was commuting back and forth from home to classes. And the first week that I was up there, I ran into one of the guys that played at Henniger, and we both graduated the same year. And he just pulled me aside. He goes, "Hey, I'm going to the preseason meeting for basketball. You want to come?" Because he knew that I tried out and we stayed close and this and that. I go, "Nah, dude, I have no interest. I haven't really been working out. I'm not in any kind of shape." Long story short, I obviously went and went to the preseason meeting. Pazak was very upfront with the whole group of people of, "Hey, this is who we have returning." There was a boatload of kids in there. I'm talking like, we ended up having like 18 people on that roster, and there was probably, 40 or 50 at least kids in there interested in the program. So, I do all the paperwork, get the physical done. We're going through preseason workouts, one-on-ones. We worked with Johnny Davis, who was the assistant up there a long time. And I was working out with him individually. I'd work out with him with a couple other guys until we got into full team practice. And then, midway through the preseason, before they made cuts, Coach Pazak came up to me and he goes, "Hey, you're doing a great job. Just want to let you know that, keep it up." And, I kind of had heard that line before when I was in high school and kind of knew where this was going. And then final cuts come. He's bringing everybody in. And he goes, "Look, Danny, this is the case. There's not much on you in high school because played CYO and didn't play in high school. And we have a lot of guys returning. Your job, if you so choose, would be to come to practice every day and make our guys better. I can't promise you a lot of playing time, but if, like you said, you just wanted to be part of a team and all that, then we have a spot for you." And at that time I was like kind of floored. I'm like, how did I not make my high school team, but now I'm being offered a position on this college team? So I of course took the opportunity because that's all I ever wanted, is to be a part of a team and be able to help out in any way possible and compete. And if there was a chance that sports, people get hurt, college level kids become ineligible, you never know when your turn can come. I was like, absolutely. So took him up on that offer, was super happy that I did, and it led to where I am today, quite frankly. And I made a lot of really good friends through that. Obviously I still talk to Coach today. He's a huge mentor for me, whether it's a decision of taking a job or leaving a job or talking about just life in general, grabbing a bite to eat. Something I'm super, super fortunate for. And I was there I played for him, I was obviously for 2 years. And I worked basketball camps during the summer, for basically his whole tenure up there once I had started there, and can't thank him enough. And so that was my time really up at OCC.
Why do you think he chose you to be a part of the team?
I think he just saw my willingness to kind of do whatever it took to make the team. Like there's a lot of guys out there that if they're told, "Hey, your role is practice player and you're not going to play much, but we want you to push our guys and be better," they won't take that. There's nothing wrong with that. As a coach, if a guy came up to me and was like, "Coach, I appreciate the offer, but I just don't want it," I'd say thank you, because I don't want a kid to be on the team thinking that that his role is going to change immediately. And some kids hang on, they're like, "Well, I've been working hard in practice," and I'm like, "Well, you're supposed to work hard in practice." But he saw that I was willing to accept that role, and I think, I don't know. You have to ask him really what he saw in me. But I think the fact that I was there every day working hard and pushing our guys to be better is something that, made him comfortable in having me on the squad.
So you move on. You go to Coastal Carolina with the Chanticleers.
Yeah.
The Chants. You're wearing the hat, right? Can we show the hat?
Yes, we can. So I want to shout out to them real quick, only because last night, and there's not many college basketball teams that are still playing right now, but there are little tournaments that are going on, and want to shout them out. I was able to watch them on ESPN Plus last night. Rudy Williams, good job, buddy. He hit a 3 with 1 second left to send them on to the next tournament, and they'll be playing host to Fresno State Thursday at 7 p.m. So I was able to catch that last night. Super proud, super happy alum. Was down there. I transferred down there in 2007, actually with one of my buddies, Pat Mannion, who was the point guard up at OCC. We went down there together, Obviously, we didn't play there, but you know, going from Syracuse to New York to Conway/Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, not a bad idea.
I was gonna say, why was Coastal Carolina the choice? Did you
So
think about them for a while, or did it kind of
I
like
had never heard of Coastal Carolina. So I'm gonna take you back now, kids. All right, listen. Dan will hear this. He'll know. He'll be able to relate. So back in 2006, they had this thing called AIM. It's AOL Instant Messenger. And I had a buddy that played lacrosse at OCC, and he later went down to Coastal Carolina. So I was messaging him back and forth on AIM and asking him how his experience in South Carolina was going.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, dude, it's awesome, man. You got to come down here. You got to visit, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "Well, I don't really have time to visit, but I'll apply." And all I knew was South Carolina. So I applied to the University of South Carolina. And I did research. I saw that they had, my interest. I was going to go to look for a college that had physical education. University of South Carolina had physical education. I applied, did the whole FAFSA thing, got accepted. Sent him a message. I'm like, "Johnny, guess what?" He's like, "What?" I go, "I got in." He's like, "Oh man, that's awesome." I go, "Yeah, dude, I can't wait." So how's University of South Carolina? He goes, "I'm at Coastal." I go, "Huh?" So I, long story short, I ended up applying to Coastal, did the whole virtual tour because, again, I wasn't able to take a visit. I basically went to this college sight unseen outside of like a couple of virtual tours, which was, risky and chancy to take the...
Congrats on getting into South Carolina
Yeah,
as well,
right,
though.
right?
Good for you.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's... I had choices, I guess. But, yeah, it was funny. When I moved down there, my mom and dad were moving me in, and my dad's looking around, and, it's 75, 80 degrees, sunny, lots of attractive co-eds there. And he's like, "There is no chance that you're going to succeed here." Yeah, he goes, "I do not see how you are going to be able to keep your GPA up. There's a beach 7 miles away, ocean." So, I went from like a 2.7 student at OCC. First semester, I was like 3.3 at Coastal, and I just like, "Here you go, Dad. How do you like me now?" And then, after that, obviously, I settled back into my normal routine and got back to the mid to high twos and back to normal. But I just wanted to prove a point. But yeah, no, I had a great 4 years down there. Made some really good friends. One of my best friends to this day, and I attended her wedding out in Chicago. She was a Division I player for the women's team there, Lauren. She's, we were both in the same major, and she knew that I had played college basketball a little bit, and so she was like, "Hey, we're always looking for like guys to practice against, and we always look for guys that had some experience. Obviously, they're not playing for the team down here. Would you be interested?" I go, "Yeah." So it was me and a handful of other guys that would go to their practice, and that was like my first introduction to like coaching and seeing how our practices run, and like we weren't in on every drill, but we got to practice against Division I women. They're going up against the likes of like UNC, who is pretty big program for their women's side, and their coach came up to me and she's like, "I want you to beat our girls up." I'm like, "Okay." So like we were just running up and down with them during scrimmage periods, and that was a great time, and we didn't do it for very long. I was only there for a little bit, but it was a great first experience at my taste of coaching.
You can also say that you chose to take your talents to Coastal Carolina instead of South Carolina, and you chose the Sun Belt over the SEC. So
yeah, back then they were.
But it wasn't the Sun Belt back then.
No, back then they were the Big South.
Yeah.
And it's changed quite a bit. The Sun Belt has even most recently added quite a few teams, so they're growing. They've added some legitimate football powers to their team and to their conference, and looking forward to getting back down there and hopefully getting to another homecoming game or
they've added, but in the eyes of Conference USA, they have not.
Right.
There's this tussle between Southern Miss. What is it? Southern Miss. It's Southern Miss, Old Dominion, and Marshall.
Yep.
That are moving, and they've all jointly said we will be competing in the Sun Belt this season. And Conference USA came out with their schedule of football games for 2022,
right,
which includes Marshall, Old Dominion, and Southern Miss. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and they play a pretty fun non-conference schedule, at least in terms of football. I was bummed last year. They came up and they played at UB out in Buffalo, and I was really itching to get out there, but obviously because of my obligations here, I wasn't able to go. But I was able to watch on TV, and I think Buffalo's going down there this year, or maybe Buffalo went down there the year before. But they always have a fun non-conference schedule. I always try to scour where they're playing so I can see if there's a game close by that I can attend if I'm not able to make it down to Myrtle Beach myself.
I'm going to tell you right now, because I'm gonna put you on the hot seat here for a second.
All right.
I'm gonna say to you, okay, so Buffalo's playing Coastal Carolina on September 17th of this year.
Where?
Down there.
Yep.
You want to go?
When is it?
September 17th.
What? So is that a week? Is it a Thursday night or Friday night? Is it a Saturday
September
afternoon?
17th is a
September 17th.
Saturday.
I'm going to put that in the maybe pile.
Okay.
I'll put that in the maybe. But I also am saving up some pennies because I saw their future schedule.
Yeah.
And they're playing at UCLA. So
Yeah.
I have.
They're challenging themselves. And Appalachian State, I mean,
You have to.
they've had some really cool games in conference. And remember, Coastal, 2 years ago, was one of the undefeateds.
Yes.
So-
So you have to challenge yourself. You have to play some of these big-time schools. You've seen with Boise State in the past. In order to be eligible for, back then it was the BCS. Now it's, you want to move up these rankings. You got to have a strength of schedule because some of these, mid-major conferences don't get the love that they should. Even
Yeah.
though, a couple of years ago, Coastal was undefeated. They beat up on Zach Wilson and BYU, and this year, I'm telling you, Coastal will have 2 or 3 guys drafted in the NFL. Isaiah Likely, tight end, he could be a top 3-round pick. I always keep an eye on what those guys are doing, and if they're playing for my team or not, I like to root them on.
I just, because of you and Austin Wilson, who left Syracuse and went down there, who I just had on the show recently, I like them, and then I look them up, and I'm like, I like the logo, I love the colors.
Yeah.
Then I'm thinking I love the Carolinas, and there was a time where I thought about living in North or South Carolina, and so there was that side of it, and then getting to know the Sun Belt and getting to be around that and talking to their commissioner, and now it's become more and more for me. And then I saw how well they were playing in football, which got me excited when they were undefeated. So all I'm saying is you don't have to twist my arm to get me to don a hat from Coastal Carolina or go to a game.
Well, so here's the thing, too, is I think I was born a couple years too early because right after I left OCC, they started getting, they built dorms, and they have a beautiful SRC arena. I transfer, that stuff becomes, a huge recruiting tool now, and I'm like, oh, well, that would have been nice if I was been able to enjoy some of that.
Yeah.
I go to Coastal Carolina, beautiful campus, amazing facilities. I leave there. They upgrade their baseball stadium. Their football stadium is an actual stadium. Now it's it used to just be a field with bleachers on both sides. Now it's like a whole horseshoe with multiple levels. They have a brand new basketball facility. Their baseball, obviously they won the College World Series, a handful of years ago. And their campus has just exploded, both academically and both in athletics. I went down there 5 years ago and was amazed at the growth that the campus had taken on. And I bet you if I went down there, tomorrow, there's still some places that I wouldn't recognize and would have to be given another campus tour just to navigate my way around that campus.
Well, and the thing is, they're now the darling of the Sun Belt.
Oh, yeah.
They're one of the things I believe the Sun Belt uses to attract the Marshalls and the Southern Miss and the Old Dominions to say, look at who we have. We have we have App State, who's made a bunch of great moves, and they played spoiler in the past to teams trying to get into good games in the postseason for college football. And then you look at Coastal Carolina and the come up of them. They are, to me, one of the main pillars of why the Sun Belt is where it is, why it's growing, and why it's enticing to come there.
There's a lot, I feel like I could coach any sport at Coastal, or at least be a recruiting coordinator and be able to sell somebody on Coastal because, like I said, you're right there on the coast. You have beautiful facilities. And, Cliff Ellis, people don't know this, he's, I think, ranked 4th or 5th right now of active head coaches, all-time wins in basketball. They're Jamie Chadwell, the head football coach down there, has done an amazing job taking over for Joe Moglia, who established after Coach Bennett. So the football program has been on the rise. But yeah, I mean, so you have the facilities, you have the coaching staff, you have the location, and now you have winning programs. Like, what else are you looking for? When you're an 18, 19-year-old recruit, 17, 18, 19 now, what else are you looking for? Location, coaching staff, facilities, they're like the 3 main things. And you have a competitive conference where, like you said, Appalachian State, you could get, Marshall and Old Dominion in there, and then you get these schools that you can start new rivalries with, and you get to travel, and it's just, I think it would be a really cool thing to become Chanticleer.
Yeah, and 2 of my buddies got recruited. I think, one of them definitely got recruited by Syracuse, but 2 of my buddies ended up going to Old Dominion and becoming teammates, and now they have the benefit of moving over into the Sun Belt, which I think is incredible, so I'm really excited for both of them. So with Dan Squared here in this exclusive on-site sit-down at PB&J's Lunchbox in Liverpool, New York with Dan Frisina and myself, Dan Tortora, you come back to this community, you come back to the coach that gave you an opportunity to be on his team. Bring me into the coaching ranks of your world, the Oswego States with Tracy Bruno, the Dave Paziaks at OCC. Bring me into your timeline and what you took away from Tracy on the women's side and what you took away from Dave on the men's side. And I know that, they mean a lot to you. I know you keep in touch, and I know that in Dave's 300th career victory as a coach, we got to do that special where I asked him to come on a Zoom with me and didn't tell him that any of you guys, it was Zach, Justin, and you, and I didn't tell him any of you guys were coming on, and I had you pop on the screen after he was already there, and I see him kind of looking, so.
Yeah, that was cool.
Dave's an incredible guy.
So, he's amazing. And like I said, he's the reason why, I am who I am today. He's a good portion of my inspiration to become a head coach. But yeah, when I first moved back, again, coaching had been kind of in the back of my mind, but it wasn't like a priority right away. I was at the point where I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I graduated with a physical education degree. I moved back home. I was doing a lot of kind of odd jobs just to make some coin. And, it wasn't until I went to my aunt's house for like a 4th of July or Memorial Day party. I forget which, it was some summer holiday party. Yeah. And I met Tracy there. And we were just small talking. I found out that she was a basketball coach, and she found out that, I had a background in basketball and this and that. And like I said, we were just chopping it up. And, she was like, well, I can't really, offer you much, but if this is something that we could always use the help. And I go, okay, cool. And she was like, as much time as you can be up there, that's perfect. If you can be up there 1 day a week, awesome. If you could be up there all the time, even better. So, I was able to lock down a job at the time that was flexible in the work schedule enough that I was able to do that and then travel up to Oswego every day. And I made it a priority. It hurt my car. It hurt my the gas mileage and all that, but it was completely worth it. I wanted something that I could put on my resume. Whether it was men's basketball, women's basketball, it didn't matter. It was coaching basketball. And, that's what I wanted to do. So I went up there and made sure that I was there for every practice, all the games, home, away, didn't matter. I wanted to show her and the team that, I was dedicated to them, because there's nothing, in my eyes, coaching is not part-time. Yeah. And the kids know that. Like, if you're an assistant coach and you're up there 1 day a week, they don't get to build that bond with you. They don't get to, when you start coaching, your voice gets lost if you're only up there 1 day a week. They're like, how do you know you weren't at practice the other day or whatever? So I wanted to make sure that I was there, and whether I was coaching or just observing or taking in practice or being, that extra passer in a drill, whatever it was, I wanted to be surrounded and just throw myself into it. And Tracy gave me the opportunity to do that, and I can't thank her enough, because that's really what got the ball rolling, officially with my coaching career. And, obviously over that time, Dave Paziak and I kept in contact, and he didn't really have room on his bench right now, but I was still working the basketball camps during the summertime, and it came a point where he lost at least 1 or 2 assistants, and I think he was up at Oswego to watch one of his former players play, as he does quite often. You'll see him out at a college basketball game just taking in anything. So he's a savant when it comes to that. He's obsessed.
I call him because he comes on the show all the time, and I told him, I was like, I call him my basketball mind analyst and coach.
Yeah.
Because he's just a brain of basketball.
He breathes it in all the time. So I ran into him out there, and we were talking. He's like, hey, so are you pursuing this women's basketball thing? Do you want to stay in women's basketball? I go, I want to stay in basketball. If an opportunity comes up, awesome. If an opportunity doesn't come up, then I'm okay staying here, or whatever the case may be. Like I said, I just want to coach basketball. He goes, well, I may have an opportunity for you at OCC if that's something you're interested in, getting back on the men's side. And I go, well, you're 5 miles away. Oswego's like 40 miles away. I go, and we have a prior relationship, so it was something that I was definitely interested in, and Tracy couldn't have been better about it. She's like, this is an opportunity you definitely have to take. So yeah, I took Dave up on his offer and worked with him up there for a season.
And you got to do that, being there as a person on the team, as one of the players on the team, to be one of his assistant coaches. What was that like, and what was the difference of, Dave is Dave, and he's such a genuine person, but how was the second time around?
It was funny because, and I have some, Justin Stern and Zach can probably attest to this now. We would go up to a practice, or we were all on his staff at one point, at different time periods. We weren't on the same staff, but at least when I was up there, I'd look at practice, I'm like, Coach, you were way harder on us. Like, what is going on? Like, so we'd tease him about that and stuff. And as he, over the years, we always told him that he was getting soft on his players and this and that. But no, it was a great experience. We knew, or I knew as a former player, kind of what the standard was and what the expectations were. And so I would reflect a lot on, as the assistant coach, I wanted to be in the mind of one of the players. And, I'm playing, a lot of the times I'd play the good cop, I'd try to think back to when I was a player and how I would react, and like try to be the middleman between the player and Coach Pazak. So that was kind of my role on that team. Great experience, great group of guys. We had some pretty fun times. We were able to go down to Florida and play a Daytona tournament. Got to go to an Orlando Magic game down there. Had some pretty big wins. Obviously, the season didn't go the way we wanted to at the end, but we ended with a winning record. And again, the reason why I got into team sports is just to develop these relationships over time with fellow coaches and the players that, to this day, I still keep in contact with a couple of the guys that I coached at OCC, and I was only there for one season.
So Bryant Stratton comes about. We come full circle. You said that obviously that was enough. You just have to keep going to barbecues and family events and whatnot to get job opportunities.
Before we move on, I always tell people it's not necessarily what you know, and it's always important to have a strong knowledge base. It's really who you know, because, I went to my aunt's party and met Tracy. It was a good thing I knew my aunt, right? When I moved back home, I got introduced to a lot of friends, and Hannah was one of them. She got a job at Bryant Stratton, and then when a job came up, she reached out to me. So it's all about, networking and making sure that you're, not burning bridges with people and developing relationships, but also you obviously need to know your stuff, but it's also like who you know and how to get your foot in the door in any way possible.
And so you get to sit down with athletic director at Bryant Stratton College of Syracuse, Nick Dimitrievsky.
Yep.
What was your first impression of Nick, and what was that meeting like about the job?
So we were up at the North Campus, and back then the North Campus was on Carling Road, right by the Wegmans on Route 31. Yeah. And
I've been up there before. So.
Yeah. So it's tucked away. It's kind of hidden, and the plan was to have a basketball team up there. And so I met with Nick, and anytime it's like the first day of school, you're dressed up, ready for this interview. There's obviously butterflies in your stomach. You're not sure exactly what to expect. But I sat down with Nick. He made it a very comfortable environment, very relaxed. The way the conversation went, I definitely felt like I was overdressed. I was dressed properly for an interview, but the conversation was so comfortable and easygoing.
Well, it's still like that because I sat down with Nick and I wore my suit
Yeah.
that I had worn for all you guys, the blue that I call my Bryant Stratton suit. So, and I had just gotten it before we had the signing and everything to work together on an exclusive multimedia marketing partnership. So I was like, perfect suit. I'm not wearing it until we do all this stuff. And I walked in to sit down with Nick recently here, and he had like a T-shirt on, jeans and whatnot. And then Alex comes in and he looks at me and he goes, "Oh," and he looks at his clothes. He goes, "I think I need to change."
Yeah.
I was like, "No," I said, "I didn't know what to expect," and I just thought. And he was just like, he felt under, but they make you feel comfortable.
Sure, and that's exactly how the interview went, and that's why, like you asked me before, if I was, comfortable, taking the interview and this and that. I was really comfortable because they made it comfortable, and they made it something where you felt like you can just sit and talk and get to know somebody, and that's the most important thing is when you're interviewing someone, especially for a leadership position, you want somebody that you can trust, and someone that you feel comfortable being able to work with through good and bad times, because it's not always sunshine and rainbows, and there's going to be some tough conversations that you guys need to have. And is this a person that I think I can have a tough conversation with? And I always felt like, whether it was good, bad, or indifferent, I walked away from any discussion with Nick or any of our administration at Bryant Stratton, positively, and whether I agreed or disagreed with the decision, I know that they were doing what's best for the school.
And so you have that conversation with him about taking the job. Why do you think Nick hired you? Did he ever tell you?
He just said, well, he never got specific. Like, I think he told you, he's like, he just felt it. He's a very passionate guy. He's a guy that has an eye and a feel for those type of things. So again, I'm not sure exactly why. Whatever he saw in me, hopefully he'll let me know so I can continue to exude that. But no, it was a great. Him and Sue Kumaletti. Nick was actually the easy part of the whole interview process. There was another portion where it was like a panel interview, where I felt like I was on The Apprentice or something. There's like in a boardroom, and there's a table of administrators and fellow coworkers, and they're it wasn't a tough conversation, but they're asking you questions that are just kind of outside of the basketball and athletic world, and more higher education type questions, and still trying to get to know you as a person and kind of what your strategy would be to bring students in and this and that. So that was, I think, a little bit more intimidating. But again, the people up there made it very comfortable, and the tough part about leaving is not going in every day on campus and chopping it up with a lot of the colleagues that I grew pretty good relationships with over the years.
What was the toughest question that you were asked in your interview process? Do you remember?
I don't know if it was the toughest question, but there was one question that was asked that I'll never forget, and I don't know why I won't forget it. I was able to answer it. It was no problem. Nick asked me kind of like a scenario question. If you're on the road and you guys are staying in a hotel and you open up the hotel room during room check and you see kids drinking, like, how would you, discipline, or how would you react, or how would you, act in that situation? And I gave him an honest answer and told him, A, B, and C, and I guess he liked that answer. But it was just one of those more unique. And I like those questions. I like scenario questions.
Can I ask how you would handle it?
So I told him, it was one of those deals where prior to road trips, we set our standards, our expectations well before we even, start practicing. So they are well aware of what is expected of them when we go on the road. And, I consider those business trips. You know, obviously when we're down in Virginia or we go on a road trip to Boston, it's, you know, something that's pretty unique because generally speaking, we play a lot of colleges that are, you know, within 2 or 3 hours of us, and we are able to go down and come back the same day. But when we're spending the night, you know, these kids like to, you know, they're 20 years old. They like to, you know, check out the town. Luckily, when we were in Boston this year, there was a nor'easter coming through and everything was shut down, so they really couldn't do much. But yeah, in a situation where like that happens, you know, it happened when we were down at, you know, when I was the coach at OCC. It happened when we were down in Florida. You know, kids got caught, you know, drinking, and I don't care if you're of age or not. It's not something that we're down here for. So you suspend the kid, you tell them kind of what the expectations are, and hopefully that they learn from it. If it exceeds anything else other than that, then you take next steps. But you know, you try to set a standard early in the season and expectations that everyone's on the same page and understands what the consequences are for kind of stepping out of line and doing something that you probably shouldn't be doing.
And coming here in Dan Squared. Before I let you go, Dan Frisina, as we have done many shows together, and now we have the opportunity to do the on-site exclusive at PB&J's Lunchbox across from Firestone Tires here on 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You can order anything off the entire menu, including breakfast, all day long. And it's near the Thruway, the Highway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway. So you had the conversation with Bryant Stratton of taking the job.
Yeah.
You just had to have the conversation of leaving the job.
Yeah.
What was that like? Who was involved, and how did you do it?
So, I mean, this is not something that I like woke up one day and was just like, all right, I'm done. Yeah. It's I take it too seriously. I love the students that I have too much to just be able to be flippant about it. It's definitely something that I had thought of for a while. And
how long was it on your mind?
It'd been on the back of my mind earlier in the season. So a lot of people don't know this, but you know, I had a pretty severe case of COVID in October where I was sidelined. You know, we're going through preseason practices, and I was absent for obviously the 10-day quarantine. I lost, you know, I had a fever, had all the symptoms, couldn't smell or taste for a while, and luckily my assistant Xavier, who is also a player of mine, was able to take heed and take control and make sure that our guys were staying on task and all this and that. And it was at that time where I was just kind of like locked up in my house for 10 days, and you know, I was like figuring out kind of what my next steps were. You just start getting in your own head and you start thinking about future and this and that.
COVID did that to a lot of people. Coaches that had time.
Sure.
It did a lot. I mean, it did something with Mike Wheeler at OCC because he had so much time with his three sons. So, I mean, it's done something to a lot of people.
Yeah, so you just start, I mean, you get in your own head, you're locked in your house for 10 days, you know, you start thinking about different things, and I knew, you know, I got better, obviously, and, you know, we played our season, we got to a winter break, and I was just feeling physically tired, mentally exhausted, and I was like, all right, this break is nice. I'll take the next 3-4 weeks off while our kids are away for the holidays, and if I come back and I feel rejuvenated, awesome. And if I come back and I still feel like this might be something that I might want to pursue something else, then I know. And after that 3 or 4 weeks, you know, my focus was never away from it, but like in the back of my mind, it started to become a bigger thought. And I knew, you know, you know, losses are never fun. You know, those losses eat at me. We get home from a road trip at like 1 in the morning. I'm watching film, a couple hours, going to bed, and then waking up the next day and going to work. So the losses eat at you. And then at that point, the wins just felt like a relief. Like I wasn't celebrating wins as much as I wanted to. I just felt like, yes, practice was worth it this week. We got through it. I'm so happy. And, you know, once you know, I was super happy, super proud of our guys that we made it to the national tournament. You know, we had made that a goal at our preseason meeting, and I didn't shy away from it. Some people are like, oh, we don't want to talk about it, puts too much pressure on us. You know, pressure's a good thing. It means that there's expectations. You know, so, and I'm about speaking things into existence and talking about your goals. And the more you talk about it in practice, the more you can hold each other accountable for what your goals are going to be. And so we talked about it, and then when we were announced that we made it to the tournament, you know, it was just elation. Like, we were super happy, we were super proud, and then obviously only one team stands at the end, and our number came up short. We came up short in the national tournament, but it was an experience that I'll never forget, and super happy. But on the way home, it was that thought that was in the back of my head of like moving on started really creeping up to the forefront in the last couple of weeks. It was something that I made the decision to do, and I did it for a lot of different reasons at this point. I love my students so much that I wanted to make sure that if they were kind of feeling uneasy or they're feeling like they wanted to pursue different things, I wanted to give them enough time to be able to do that. Bryant Stratton gave me this great opportunity. I didn't want to put them in the lurch. So if I make the decision now, it gives them a time to hire my replacement and get him in there with enough time to start recruiting and not, too far behind in that ball as well. So it was a decision that I had to have conviction of, and I wanted to make, and I wanted to make it as soon as possible so that everyone kind of wins out of that situation.
And when you did it, was it just you and Nick, or how did you do it?
So actually, I was gonna, alert Nick Monday the 14th, and he wasn't able to be in because of illness. And then I was going to do it Tuesday, and then he was still out. So I finally called him, and I was like, hey, Nick, this is the situation. This is what I'm thinking about. And he's like, all right. He goes, let's meet tomorrow, Wednesday, and we'll talk about it. So we sat and talked about it. And, again, it wasn't something that was flippant. I told him exactly my reasons, thanked him for the opportunity. It was a similar situation as when I got hired, thank you for the opportunity type of deal. It was just a different sentiment. But yeah, it was it was just one of those bittersweet things. You're leaving something that you grew behind, but again, another chapter's opening up and you're looking forward to something new, and yeah, that's kind of how it went.
You built it though.
Yeah.
So how do you the first broadcast I ever built was MU Courtside, our NCAA Division III men's and women's basketball coverage at Marywood University. That was my first baby. It'll always be my first kid. How do you leave your first kid, and how are you going to handle when that season comes back around and you're watching, maybe you go to watch a game. Will you go to watch a game? And kind of like, I know the secret that you know the secret of, but we can't talk about it right now, but will you want to go and watch that person with your team?
I have full faith in Bryant Stratton administration that they will hire somebody to carry on what we've started. And I told our guys that that was the toughest part, was last Friday, sitting down with my players and letting them know of my decision. It was kind of a stunned silence. There was a couple guys that, obviously there was some emotions that came out, and they were upset, and not like an angry way, of course, but like a very sad, and I told them, I go, it's not goodbye, see you later type of deal. But I told, and Nick was there with me when I, told him the news, and I said I have full faith that what we've grown over the last couple of years will continue. The standard has been set.
Did you know at the time who the other person was going to be, or no?
No, because the decision hadn't been made, but I knew what direction they were leaning towards, and I knew kind of who applied and who interviewed up to that point. And so, but a decision hadn't been made, but I still, again, had full faith that they would make the right choice and again, continue on. But yeah, like you said, it's your first baby. It's not going to be easy to let go, but will I attend games? Absolutely. Like, I'm still wearing Bryant Stratton, still.
That's like the blackout midnight shirt. I like that shirt.
Yeah, I'm still a huge supporter. Unfortunately, there were some guys that weren't able to attend last week's meeting where I announced it. So unfortunately, I had to tell them through a group chat that we have, our team chat, which is not in any way how I would have liked to do it. But
you did it as the stand-up person. You met them face to face and let them have their emotions in front of you, and you didn't do it behind their back or in
Sure.
such a way where you didn't have to face them.
It's not the way to do things. You got, and hopefully they take that lesson with them in the future. And I asked them at the end of my speech there if anyone had anything to say, and you could tell that, like I said, there was a stunned silence. But there were a couple guys that had a few really nice things to say that I appreciated, and then a couple days later over the weekend, I received some really sweet text messages from the guys, just letting me know of their appreciation for me and for me giving them the opportunity. And once word kind of got out yesterday with the press release, I received quite a few text messages and phone calls from colleagues and from family and friends that were just wishing me the best. And it was really nice to hear that. And it's like I said, it's not easy to leave, but it's exciting to get started on the next chapter of things.
Yeah, it was hard for me personally because we got to know each other through this opportunity that you got, and I am moved by the guy that I met having lunch, sitting at the bar next to each other, to the man that I know now, who I'm so proud of. I'm so grateful for. I feel spoiled to have. I wasn't anticipating, and I'm not saying it because you're sitting next to me, Danny. I mean, you're one of my favorite coaches I ever got to get to know and be around, because you are who you say you are.
Right.
And you love your kids. And I got to tell you, I've been part of watching some selection shows, but my top 2 selection show day of all time was being with you and Clay in the back-to-back. And I was so upset because I remember I knew I had a meeting and I had texted you and I said, like, I'm coming down the road. I knew I was 13 minutes away.
Right.
And I was so pissed that I'm like, I got to get there. I got to see it. I got to get the reaction. I got to be a part of it. And just running, and then ask me what room are they in? Where do I go? And so to get up there for that, I just wanted, if this speaks anything to who you are as a human being, I consider you a friend,
yeah,
as a coach. If this speaks anything to who Dan Frisina is, in my opinion, I felt more of an obligation to get there for you and be there for you on that selection day than I felt to get to a lot of places.
Mm-hmm. Well, I appreciate that.
And I'm not going to say how fast I went or what road I was on. But I have.
Statute of limitations is over for speeding violations, I think.
Yeah, we can say that. If it happened yesterday, then it doesn't count.
Right.
So, but I have to ask you this question.
Sure.
We're the same age. I consider us young. My grandma lived to be almost 101.
Nice.
Age was a state of mind.
Right.
And it is to me. Aches and pains and all, wins and losses and all. Will you ever be back?
Coaching?
Yeah.
I've had a lot of people ask me that, and as of right now, no.
Okay.
But like you said, when the fall comes around and you know that you should be at practice,
yeah.
Will I have that itch? Maybe. When I was having kind of my exit interview or talk with Nick, he said, "I'm super proud of you. I'm excited for this next step in your life." He goes, "But you're a coach." He goes, at the end of the day, he goes, "I don't know if it'll be back here at Bryant Stratton or somewhere else." He goes, "You're a coach." And he goes, "I see you as a coach, and I think that you'll be coaching somewhere in the future.
Yeah.
And I wish you nothing but the best." And I really appreciate that. Like I said, coaching's in my blood, family. All my family goes back to coaching. So I'm never going to shut the door on that and say never, because you know how life is, and
yeah,
you never know what opportunity may arise. But as of right now, no, I have no desire to coach. I'm definitely looking forward to the next chapter of my life, but I will never say never and shut the door on it as well.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure. You've asked me a lot of questions today. I'm sure I can let you ask me a couple more.
So Dave gave you a chance.
Yeah.
If and when you ever decide to be a coach again, would you let me even just run around with the guys? Could you open the door to let me be one of your practice spot guys? I guess is what I'm asking.
I'll find out if we can get a mascot costume. We'll give you a ball. You can do the halftime show. No, I mean, why did Dave say that he would let you suit up or?
No, I'm saying to you, like, I've always, I mean, this has been in my blood my whole life.
Yeah.
I love the game, and I've always wanted to test myself in coaching.
Okay.
So if you wouldn't let me be a full-time coach because you already have those declared to other people, which I totally understand, what I'm saying is he lets you be like a volunteer member initially.
Yeah.
So would you let me find a place to at least give me an opportunity to help you?
Sure. Listen, believe me, there is.
I don't want to take anybody's spot, but
no.
you're
Listen,
somebody I'd be willing to help.
As someone who's been a head coach at a very small school, and let's be honest, they have limited resources. You know, and that's one of the. It's a benefit, and it's one of the pullbacks. But
Yeah.
you know, as a coach that didn't have an assistant coach my first 2 years, any help that you can get is a huge help. So even if it's just you have a person, like, as I was a volunteer assistant up at Oswego, and sometimes I was just the guy that was keeping the scoreboard during practice or being that extra passer in practice. There is never.
I'm asking if you like me enough to have me in the gym.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you like me? Like me? Yes, Dan, of course. Of course.
Do you like me enough to let me show you what I think I can do?
Let me
with
see your
basketball?
trick shot behind the backboard. We'll compete, see who can make the most.
That would be really cool. That if you said to me, "Hey, I'll hire you, but you have to make the shot." That would be a cool way to do it.
We could put some stakes on it for sure.
Yeah, we can have some fun. So again, you've been great in answering my questions. I'm not putting you on the rapid fire hot seat, but I am going to let you put me on there because you've been gracious with your time and let me be the exclusive sit down, and you let me tell the story 5 seconds after it happened. I mean, you know, the world found out yesterday,
Yep.
and here we are today at PB&J's Lunchbox in Liverpool. So I'm going to let you ask me any 3 questions.
So
We've known each other for how many? At least 5 years.
yeah. So
So.
I like how you say I'm not going to put you on the hot seat, but he puts me on the hot seat by asking me to come up with a question. However,
Yeah.
with your previous interview,
But you were sitting over there. You should have
that's
gotten
what I said.
prepared.
That's
Yeah.
what I said. I went to the old Google machine, and so I got a couple questions.
Okay.
All right. This one, how many do I get?
You get 3.
3. Okay, so this one will be, I'll make one question 2 questions. It's like a double.
Okay.
So what was your first concert ever, and what was your favorite concert ever?
First concert ever, I was 14. And funny story is when I was 15, I started working at, I don't know if they had to like fudge the data to make sure that like I could do, I don't know if I could have done it. I think I had to be 16.
Okay.
But I worked at the Grandstand
Okay.
for 3 years. And so my first concert, 14 years old, was Backstreet Boys.
Nice.
And I don't hate it.
Well, listen, I can't altogether make fun of you because my first concert, you were 14, I was 4, at the Carrier Dome.
Yeah.
Similar artist.
New Kids on the Block?
Bingo.
Yeah.
November.
Can't hate it.
November. I can't remember the specific day. It was November something 1990.
Yeah. I don't remember the date, but I remember that there was a girl sitting next to James and Michael and I, and we were sitting like up a little bit where the guardrail was.
Yeah.
So we were like second level, and these girls next to us were really big fans, and they asked if I could throw a keychain from where we were if I thought that I could throw it on stage. And I said, knowing my luck, I'll hit one of them like mid singing and dancing, and I'll
Yeah.
get like arrested.
Yeah,
So
that's assault.
I did not throw a keychain. But my favorite concert, that's a good question. I think my favorite moment at a concert, there's 2. I love Journey,
Okay.
and it's actually one of the names that I want to consider naming my daughter someday. I don't know if my girlfriend likes it completely, but she doesn't hate it
All right.
like the other exes did, and it's a reason why they're not here. But
They're exes for a reason.
yes, but I will tell you that I got to meet Carrie Underwood at the Grandstand.
Nice.
I got to talk to her, like actually have a human conversation, not like a hey, how you doing?
Right.
And every guy was hitting on her, and it's
Sure.
ridiculous. And I got up to her, beautiful woman,
Yeah.
very talented. I came up to her. I had nothing for her to sign, nothing for her to sign with, but I
Awesome.
waited in line, and I was with my buddy Mark, and I thought he would be better, and then he hit on. I was like, come on. So I get up to her and she goes, "It'll just be a minute." And I go, "Yeah, no problem." And she's like signing something, whatever. And then she goes, "Well, go ahead." And I said, "Hi." And she looked up and she went,
Yeah, she was refreshed.
and she goes, "Hi." And I said, "How's your day going?" And she's like, "I'm good." And and in that moment where like I got to lock eyes with Carrie Underwood,
Yeah.
I, in that moment, like had a personal
Connection. Oh, yeah.
connection with her where I honestly felt like she enjoyed it.
She could be like a person.
Yeah,
and
like
not
I felt like
this,
she enjoyed
celebrity.
instead of everybody going, "You're great, you're great, you're great,"
Sure.
that she actually like had a moment where I felt like I was important to her.
Well, she probably felt human too. you
Yeah.
know?
But it meant the world to me that I felt like I wasn't just another person in a 200-person line.
Nice.
And she signed my Walt Disney World shirt, which I love. One of my favorite shirts ever. She signed the sleeve, and I've never worn it or washed it since.
Awesome.
And I also have a picture with her that I found. I had to go find
awesome.
it, and it's actually on my
It's better
computer.
than an autograph sometimes. You got photographic proof.
Yeah, a photograph of her because she was sitting and she smiled and very sweet, very sweet. And I went to go see her 3 times in concert. So
Good deal.
I'd say that. So I guess
All right, so that was, I guess, one question with.
yeah, one A and B.
All right, so 2 would be because music is such a, I mean, outside of basketball, I'd say music is actually bigger than sports in my family.
Yeah, I agree. My mom is an incredible singer, and I don't know if you know this, but since 3 years old, I have been singing all my life.
There you go.
From my grandfather to my mom to me, I would like to be a lick of what my mom is, but I don't know. People don't run out screaming, so that's
Right.
good.
So yeah, I mean, my dad has been in radio for, I don't want to give away his age, but a couple.
I don't
2,
feel like
3,
he
3,
can be
4
your dad,
decades.
though. I worked with Dave.
Yeah, no, he's been at it for quite some time. So I mean, there was times where he'd be on the radio, and I'm 4 or 5 years old, talking to the radio, thinking that I'm talking to my dad.
Yeah.
But anyways, so music has been huge. I've been afforded numerous opportunities to meet some of the bands that I listen to because of him, and go to shows that I probably normally wouldn't be able to go to because of him. So music is a huge part of my life. Who is your favorite band, artist, musician that you haven't seen? How about that? We'll shrink it down.
Well, first and foremost, working with Dave when he was at the Rebel and I was at the Score, I can honestly tell you, and I'm not saying this, Dave, because I was there when they created the Rebel, and I
Right.
was there when he was the first to come in,
Right.
and we didn't know who they were going to hire. Dave, you do not look old enough to have a 36-year-old child. I will
Well,
say that.
and I'm not the oldest.
so, but he doesn't look old enough. I've always respected Dave, even though we didn't have a lot of time together when we crossed paths. I feel like he's been supportive from afar. I would like to say that, and I feel the same way about him. I've always wanted Dave to succeed. So, because that's important, the family there. You know, Ted and Amy, Rick Roberts. You know, there's still to this day my guy Hunter, who's down in the Carolinas. Well, actually, I think he's in Georgia now, but he was in the Carolinas. So I would say my favorite of all time, Boys to Men, and I got to they were in my restaurant when I was working at Disney. Wanye was there and Nathan Morris. Michael was not part of the group at the time, and my favorite is Sean Stockman. He wasn't there, but they were there, and we're not allowed to at Disney ask for an autograph,
Right.
take a picture, talk to them because I was working, whatever. And so I was carrying silverware. I didn't need to. I brought it from the back to the front, then the front to the back, then the back to the front, so I could keep going by their
Sure.
table. And then because you're in the dark at Sci-Fi Drive-In Theater, and because it's like supposed to be like a drive-in movie. So we're at Hollywood Studios, and at one point I'm like this, and I'm like, because you're in the dark, and my eyes are, and I'm standing in the middle of the room, staring at them, knowing that I've been here for 10 minutes, and this is creepy. But I needed to let my brain remember the moment forever.
Yeah.
It was also the first time I got to see them in concert because they were at Epcot.
Nice.
So, still remember Wanye, the spotlight comes down, and he's singing Yesterday, and he does the first couple words, and he looks up and he goes, no, wait. He goes, stop. Start it again. And then he hits it again, and I'm like, there was nothing wrong with the first one.
Right.
But
perfectionist.
Yeah. So I would say Boys to Men, and
I think they're coming to the fairgrounds this year.
I hope they are.
I think they're coming to Chevy Court or
I hope they
Lakeview,
are.
one of the two. I'm pretty sure they are.
But yeah, and the funny thing is, the other group I really love is Journey, and like I mentioned, and I was supposed to see them in concert at Lakeview, and I was at Summer League in Orlando,
Okay.
so I didn't get to go. So I haven't been to Lakeview yet, but yeah, I think Boys to Men by far,
Nice.
because I'm 1 degree of separation from them. One of my best friends, Rob Drummond, knows them because he played for the Eagles, and so he knows Boys to Men, and he can actually contact them through like a cousin.
I gotcha.
And my annoyance with Rob that he has not set this up yet for me is undeniable. And I told him,
How good a friend is he then?
well, I was like,
mean,
if and when I get married, listen, there's a contingency plan. If he, right now, he's one of my groomsmen if he wants to be, but it's contingent on him at least calling Boys to Men to sing at my wedding, and I'll pay.
Yeah.
I don't care what I
Yeah.
have to do, but if he makes the phone call, that will or will not affect his ability to be.
That'd be pretty awesome. You give Boys to Men at your wedding. I mean, not many people can say they've done that.
I don't care if they walk out for one song, because I don't care about fangirling anybody. Like,
Right.
I'm gonna lose my mind. I'm gonna be like, listen, can I just do like the first 3 words of Yesterday? Can I just stand out here with you guys, and I'll run off right after? But can I just have a moment where for that 1 second I'm a part of Boys to Men?
That'd be awesome.
That's all I want.
I'm gonna go the fifth member, right? Fourth.
Yes, I will. Well, and they originally had another member
Right.
that like didn't make it. But if you watch like the dramatization of their life when they did the New Edition thing,
Right.
when they come up to the New Edition bus and they're like discovered, they had 5 that ran up to the bus, and I'm like, who was that guy?
Right.
Like, I want to know who didn't make it.
Right.
So, but yeah, Boys to Men.
Okay. And then the last one, I guess, is outside of music, I also love traveling.
Yes.
If you could travel anywhere in the world for free, where would it be?
Italy and Spain to see my family. We may have family in the Sudan too, because Italians migrated,
Okay.
and so there might be something to that. Because one of my cousins took the 23andMe or the Ancestry test, and so we thought we were 100% Italian. We found out we have Hispanic blood, maybe more than that. I would love to travel and do the tour, see my family in Spain, who's watched and listened to the show, which is
Whereabouts?
insane to me. They are in, I think they're in like, is it not Catalonia or
Yeah.
something like
Yep.
the one that was trying to break away and become
Yep.
its own country?
Yep.
So actually, when they were attacked a few years ago, when there was 2 terrorist attacks that were 2 weeks apart, one of the attacks, my cousin was like within 2 blocks.
Wow.
So I want to go see them. They've been incredibly supportive, and I never met them. They knew my grandma on my dad's side.
In the sorry to cut you off. In the summer of 2018, me and 3 of my friends flew into Madrid. Flew from Madrid. No, it's like basically a layover from Madrid, and then we landed in Barcelona.
Yeah.
We were in Barcelona for a couple days. Took a train to Valencia. Spent a couple days there. Took a train. Finished up in Madrid. Highly recommend. It was really the only time that I've been overseas. I've been out of the country, but this is my first time overseas. Great experience. I would say I want to go back, but there's still so many other places that I want to go to before I hit another place twice. But definitely an experience of a lifetime. I loved Spain. It was great.
Well,
And each city was very different from the next. Barcelona was very different from Valencia. Valencia was very different from Madrid.
yeah.
So it was, you kind of got a flavor of each part of Spain there.
Well, and it's cool because one of my cousins apparently was a mayor of 2 cities near Madrid.
Oh,
So
cool.
like they've had, it's just cool to know that they're there, because in Italy we expect it. Our family's there, and there's like, my mom looked up, there's like 7 restaurants that have the Tortora name, and
Yeah.
there's a bus company, like a tourism bus or something like that, with her name on it. So I'd like to go back and get to see all of that. And I actually found out, I can tell you a story off the air, but I found out there's some cool stuff about just family back in Italy that are in movies, have done commercials, so they're in like the entertainment world,
Right.
like I'm in, so that's cool to do that and see their success, and want to like you know, like, wow, they're in commercials and, you know, shows and whatnot. So I would definitely want to go there. I also want to go somewhere very exotic, and my girlfriend wants to go to Turks and Caicos.
Not bad.
So
Not a bad choice.
that's where she wants to take me first.
Yep. That wouldn't be a bad vacation.
She wants to go anywhere where there's clear water.
Yeah.
Like clear blue.
I see like Instagram photos of like the Maldives, and I'm like, that doesn't look too bad.
Yeah.
That doesn't look horrible.
Anything where you can like see everything. And
Yeah.
and I told her I'm gonna be like Vince Vaughn in Couples Retreat,
Ah.
where I'm gonna be like, huh? And she knows all my movies too, which is why
Right.
she's perfect for me. But I'm gonna be the guy going, honey, there's fish in the water and there's fish in the ground.
Yeah,
And she'd be like, there's fish right underneath my feet. She's like, I see him too. But he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, but there's fish right here.
Well, would you be Vince Vaughn during the shark attack? Like,
Save yourself.
yeah, you got like a little scraped knee, and it's like
No, I would. I can
I
swim.
was attacked by a shark.
Yeah.
There's very few people who can say that.
You don't understand. I had a near-death
Yeah.
experience.
I don't know if it was really that. You know.
I know that I love to swim, and I feel like I was born in the water. I actually feel like in a past life I probably lived in Atlantis, so I would have swam
Right.
safely. I would have been concerned and nervous, but I probably would have booked it. There's no way that I would have.
Chum around you and
I try to go under the chum and
bloody,
get out.
bloody water. Yeah.
Yeah, I would not stay there to see what happens.
No.
I don't think I would.
Jason
Do.
Bateman had the right idea.
Yeah, you know, just kind of, he's like, dude, you're right by here. All you got to do is just touch the boat.
Right.
Like, no, save yourself. Like, I've had a nice life. But in Couples Retreat, also a great movie, and to which I actually a couple days ago went back to. I was talking to my girlfriend about the candle scene that I find hilarious. Never done it. But when she's like, does it hurt or feel good? He's like, it hurts and feels good at the same time. And she goes, bang, bang. He's like, pow, pow.
Yeah,
So,
classic.
still remembering Phase on Love, too. Like, he was in a TV show I used to watch on the WB. So, like, I was a big fan of his way before Couples Retreat. But that whole movie is so
Great.
worth watching.
It's great. No, that's a good movie.
So, could have been taped at Coastal Carolina because we know the views are good. So,
bad.
with that being said, Dan Squared, Dan Frisina, myself, Dan Tortora, on-site exclusive, on the heels of you moving forward from your time at Bryant Stratton into the next chapter, and you heard it here first that if and when Dan ever returns, I will sneak in and have some type of role somewhere live here from PB&J's Lunchbox in Liverpool. We thank PB&J's, Pat, Sue, and the whole team. Danny, as always, I thank you. And just because, and you should know this, just because you're not coaching now doesn't mean that you are not always welcome on my show.
Cool. Sounds good, man.
I know you're always watching. You always got things on the mind, and I just want an excuse to hang out with a friend. But I do want to have an anniversary of grabbing some lunch and sitting at the bar because I want to relive that moment.
Sounds good, dude.
I appreciate you.
All right, man.
Thanks
You
for
too.
everything. We'll talk with you all soon. Thanks for being a part of it. Wake Up Call every Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. This has been a bonus show, and you can find us all throughout the community, mixlr.com, facebook.com, and youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, and get more by going to wakeupcalldt.com 24/7. Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, Twitter at Call DT, and Instagram at Wake Up Call.